The car-carrying mercenaries were known across the galaxy as ruthless killers. Tall, armored with skin like metal and eyes like burning coal, they fought for anyone who paid well. No emotion, no mercy, no survivors. That was their code. So when they landed on Vector 9, a small Terran outpost on the edge of the dead zone, they expected an easy mission. The Syndicate had told them the base was lightly guarded. The plan was simple: strike fast, wipe out any humans, and leave nothing behind. But the base was too quiet. Smoke rose from a signal tower. The gate was open. Empty food trays still sat on tables. Computers blinked silently. The whole place looked like it had been left in a hurry. Scanners showed no life forms, hissed Commander Krav, tapping his helmet. The squad moved in slowly, weapons raised. 12 elite Karkari warriors, each one a veteran of war. Their boots crunched over shattered glass. Their armor reflected the pale orange sky of Vector 9. No alarms, no resistance. Then they saw him. One human, sitting calmly on a crate. His boots rested on another box. He held a tin mug in one hand and sipped slowly. Steam rose from the drink. "Hello, boys," the human said with a grin. "You're late." Krav raised his blaster. "You're alone." The human tilted his head. "Am I?" The squad moved to surround him. Still, the human didn't move. He wore dusty armor, scratched and worn. A patch on his shoulder read, TSF, Deathworld Division. One of the younger Karkari laughed. "He's just a soldier. Leave him to me." He stepped forward. That's when it began. In one smooth move, the human dropped the mug and kicked the crate. It flew into the Karkari's legs, knocking him down. At the same time, the human pulled 2 short blades from his belt and spun like lightning. The second Karkari didn't even see the strike that dropped him. Krav shouted, "Form up! Fire!" Too late. The human vanished between shadows and crates. The base lit up with sparks and smoke. Explosions rocked the ground. Metal shards flew in all directions. From the ceiling, a hidden turret dropped and began firing. Karkari screamed as confusion took over. "He's just one man," someone shouted. But he wasn't just one man. He was a Deathworlder. In less than 3 minutes, 9 Karkari were down. The others retreated outside, wounded and shaken. Krav's armor was scorched. His breathing was heavy. The human walked out slowly, calm as before. He picked up his mug, dusted it off, and took another sip. "Tell your boss," he said, voice firm, "Karen's space isn't for sale. Not today. Not ever." Krav stared at him in silence. "Now run," the human added, eyes cold. "Before I change my mind." The mercenaries ran. On that day, the legend of the Deathworlders' special forces spread across the stars, and alien mercenaries learned to fear a human with nothing but a mug and a smile. Captain Roan Maddox stared at the hologram spinning in front of him. A glowing map of the jumbo moon Akratos 7 hovered in the air, covered in red markers, enemy patrols, landmines, and dangerous wildlife. A red circle blinked at the center. That was his target. Behind him, General Harris spoke with a firm voice. "We need you to go in alone, Captain. The risk is too high for a full team." Maddox didn't blink. "What's the target?" "A defector. Karkari. A medical officer named Dr. T. Sari Valen. She has valuable intel. She wants out." Maddox raised an eyebrow. "A Karkari? They've been hunting us for years." "Exactly. That's why this matters. She knows how they think. She can help us stop their next invasion." He nodded slowly, then leaned back in his chair. Extraction under fire, across a jungle death world, surrounded by merc squads. You really know how to treat a guy. Harris smirked. "You're the best we've got. You survived Maros 5. You led the Targon escape. You held the Black Dunes alone for 2 days." "I had a dog with me," Maddox said, smiling. "Best backup I ever had." The general sighed. "This isn't a joke, Ron." The smile faded. Maddox stood and looked at the map again. What'd she look like? The image shifted. A tall, car-carry female appeared. Silver blue skin, sharp eyes, armor covered in old medic symbols. She looked calm, but something in her eyes showed sadness, regret. She saved 3 humans during a raid last year, Harris added. Risked her life doing it. Then she sent us a message. I can't stay among killers. Maddox studied her face for a moment. Brave. Or foolish, Harris said. But if she's real, she's a chance we can't waste. Roan picked up his gear, light armor, a blade, a short rifle, and a small pack of tools. No heavy tech. Acredo 7 was full of static storms that broke most electronics. When do I leave, he asked. In 1 hour. Dropship will take you to the high ridge. From there, it's a 12-mile hike through jungle to the contact point. Maddox strapped on his boots. What do I say to her? Harris paused. Tell her Earth forgives. If she means it. Roan gave a short nod, then headed for the launch bay. As he walked past the outer soldiers, many saluted him. They knew the stories. They had seen what he could do. Maddox wasn't the strongest or fastest, but he had something most didn't. He never gave up. Not on people. Not on missions. Not even on enemies who wanted a second chance. He stepped onto the transport and looked up at the sky. Another death world. Another fight. But something felt different this time. Maybe it was the face in the hologram. Maybe it was the idea that even a car carrier could change. Or maybe it was the strange feeling in his chest he couldn't quite name. Dr. Tsari Valen stood at the edge of a wide cliff on Acredo 7, her sharp eyes scanning the thick jungle below. Green clouds swirled in the sky. The trees looked peaceful, but she knew the truth. Every leaf could hide poison. Every shadow could be a predator. This world did not welcome visitors. But she didn't come for comfort. Tsari had once worn the Karkari colors with pride. She had trained as a combat medic, healed hundreds on the battlefield, and followed orders without question. But that changed when she saw what those orders truly meant: burned villages, terrified children, and prisoners used for experiments. She had tried to stay loyal. She told herself it was war. Until the day she couldn't. During a raid on a Terran camp, she had found 3 wounded human soldiers, young, scared, left behind. She should have walked past them. Instead, she had hidden them, treated their wounds, and guided them to safety under cover of night. It was the moment she became a traitor. Now the Karkari hunted her. Her name was marked. Her life was forfeit. She touched the small communication device on her belt. It blinked once. The Terrans had answered her message. Help was coming. She was to meet her contact at dawn by the waterfall, if she survived that long. Tsari walked back into the forest, silent and alert. Her movements were precise. She moved like a shadow, never breaking a twig or rustling a leaf. But inside, her thoughts raced. What would the human be like? Would he trust her? Would he kill her? Karkari had long believed humans were chaotic and reckless, but they were also known for something else: kindness, even to enemies. That confused her. It also gave her hope. She reached a small clearing and crouched beside a fallen log. Pulling out a ration bar, she took a slow bite, then froze. A sound. Low, soft, like boots on wet moss. She reached for her knife, but stopped when a voice spoke. Don't move. She looked up. A human stood 10 feet away, half hidden by the trees. Dark hair, sharp eyes, a calm face. His armor was worn but well kept. His weapon was down, not pointed, but his stance was ready. You're Tsari, he asked. She nodded. I'm Captain Roan Maddox. I'm here to get you out. She stood slowly, hands open. You came alone? I always do, he said with a faint smile. She studied him for a long moment. He wasn't what she expected. There was no hate in his eyes, no fear either, just focus. Do you trust me? She asked softly. No, he replied, but I believe you want out. That's enough for now. She nodded, her heart steady. We have a long way to go, he added, glancing at the trees. She stepped beside him. Then let's move. The Karkari won't be far behind. Together, they disappeared into the jungle. Thick vines hung from twisted trees. The air was hot and heavy, like breathing through steam. Strange insects buzzed past in flashes of color, and far in the distance, something growled, a deep, rumbling sound that made the ground seem to pulse. Captain Roan Maddox moved through the jungle with silent skill. Every step was careful. Every breath was controlled. Behind him, Dr. Tsari Valen followed with sharp awareness. Though she was trained in survival, this jungle was different. This was a death world, a planet where everything fought to survive, including the weather. The leaves dripped with acidic dew. The soil shifted like it was alive. Maddox pointed to a strange root curling out of the ground. "Don't step near that. It grabs ankles," he said simply. Tsari nodded. She respected his knowledge, even if she didn't say it out loud. He had already saved her twice, once by warning her about a nest of stinger worms, and again by pulling her back just before a tree exploded in sticky red spores. "This place is alive," she whispered. "Very," Maddox replied, "and it hates us." They stopped by a shallow stream. Maddox took out a flask, filtered some water with a small tool, and handed it to her. She hesitated. "You trust me with this?" she asked. "I didn't lace it," he said, half grinning. She took a sip and looked at him. "You joke a lot. Only on days that try to kill me." Tsari allowed herself a small smile. It was the first time she had smiled in weeks. They kept moving. The jungle got denser. The trees twisted into odd shapes, and a green fog rolled across the forest floor. Tsari's skin sensors tingled. "Something's wrong," she said, voice low. Maddox raised a hand. He felt it too. Silence. No bugs. No wind. Not even the distant growls. Then a sudden roar split the air. From the mist, a giant creature charged, 6 legs, thick fur, and eyes like glowing coals. Its jaws opened wide, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Tsari reached for her sidearm, but Maddox was faster. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He moved straight toward the beast, sliding under its lunge and stabbing upwards with a sharp blade. The creature howled in pain. Tsari fired twice, aiming for the eyes. The beast crashed into a tree and fell, still twitching. Maddox stood slowly, breathing hard. His arm was bleeding, but he smiled. "Dinner?" he asked. Tsari shook her head. "You're insane." "Deathworlder," he corrected. She stared at him, unsure whether to be annoyed or amazed. They kept moving deeper into the jungle. Maddox's arm bulged, but he didn't stop. Tsari wrapped it quickly with a strip of cloth. "You should rest," she said. "No time. Karkari don't rest either." She knew he was right. But something was changing. This wasn't just a mission anymore. She wasn't just a defector. And he wasn't just a soldier. The sky above Akretos 7 turned dark green as night fell. Strange lights danced between the clouds. Natural storms mixed with the planet's strange energy fields. Captain Roan Maddox and Dr. Tsari Valen had made camp under a thick rock shelf, hidden by trees and vines. A small fire crackled between them, burning low with smokeless fuel. Maddox checked his weapon, wiped dirt from his blade, and listened carefully. Tsari was quiet. She had taken off part of her armor to treat a cut on her side. Her hands moved with medical skill, wrapping a bandage without flinching. "Will they come tonight?" she asked. "They're already here," Maddox said, eyes locked on the jungle. He had seen the signs: bent branches, fresh footprints, and the smell, an oily, burning metal scent that only Karkari war machines left behind. "They sent Skarn units," he added. Tsari stiffened. "Skarn? They're not regular troops. No, they're bio-enhanced hunters. Fast, smart. They don't stop." She looked into the trees. "They won't show mercy." "Neither will I." Suddenly, a loud hiss echoed in the darkness. Maddox jumped to his feet, pulling Tsari behind the rock wall. A metal spike flew past them and stuck into a tree. It exploded with a sharp snap, spraying white foam across the area. It would have frozen them solid if they were in the open. "They found us," Tsari whispered. Maddox nodded. "Time to move." They ran through the jungle, jumping over roots and dodging glowing mushrooms that burst when touched. Behind them, fast shapes moved, scarred soldiers with silver skin, glowing eyes, and blades built into their arms. Maddox dropped a mine behind them. A loud boom shook the ground. One scarn flew into the air, parts flying. But more came. Tsari turned and fired, hitting one in the chest. It kept coming, sparks flying from its armor. "These things don't feel pain," she shouted. "Good," Maddox said, tossing a flare that blinded them. "Neither do I when I'm angry." They reached a fallen tree bridge over a deep trench. Maddox helped her cross, then planted charges along the base. As the scarn chased them onto the log, he hit the trigger. A roar of fire exploded behind them, lighting up the sky. The tree shattered. The trench filled with smoke and falling bodies. Silence returned. They collapsed behind a hill, breathing hard. "That's twice you saved me," Tsari said, her voice calm but tired. Maddox smiled. "You'll return the favor." She looked at him closely. His face was dirty, bruised, but full of fire. "I don't understand you, human," she said softly. "Why risk yourself for me?" He looked at her, serious now. "Because someone has to believe people can change." Tsari didn't reply, but something in her chest felt warm. They weren't just running from enemies anymore. They were running towards something neither of them fully understood. The jungle was deadly, but it was nothing compared to what chased them. And still, together, they kept moving forward. The night on Acreto 7 was colder than expected. The heat of the jungle faded after sunset, replaced by a sharp chill. Strange stars shone through breaks in the sky, some blinking in colors not seen from Earth. In the distance, lightning danced across the horizon without thunder. Captain Roan Maddox and Dr. Tsari Valen found shelter in a cave near a lava vent. Warm air flowed gently from the glowing cracks in the rock. It wasn't safe, but it was safer than being out in the open with Scarn units still hunting. Maddox sat near the fire, using a piece of metal and a stone to sharpen his blade. The rhythm was steady, slow. Tsari sat across from him, wrapping a fresh bandage around his arm. His wound from earlier had reopened. "You should let me seal it," she said. "I'll live," he replied, but didn't stop her. She worked silently, her hands smooth and careful. The firelight reflected off her skin, making her look almost human in the dim light. "You're different," she said after a while. "Thanks, I think." "I mean it," she continued. "You don't act like other soldiers. You smile too much. You talk too much. You help too much." Maddox looked up at her. "You say that like it's a bad thing." "In my world it was. Emotion is weakness. Mercy is failure." "Then your world is broken." Tsari paused. She didn't argue. Maddox leaned back, resting his head against the cave wall. "You know," he said, "back home we used to sit by campfires like this all the time. Even in war. We tell stories, laugh. It reminded us we were still human." Tsari looked at the flames. "I never had that." "You could," he said gently. "It's not too late." She didn't reply. Instead, she asked, "Why are you really helping me, Roan?" He met her eyes, serious now. "Because I've seen what hate does. I've watched friends die in wars started by fear. But I've also seen enemies become allies. People can change, if we let them." She stared at him. "And you believe I can change?" "I already see it," he said. For the first time in a long while, she felt something like hope. She took a deep breath, then looked up at the stars. "Your world, Earth, what's it really like?" Maddox smiled. "It's messy, loud, beautiful. It smells like rain and fresh bread and gasoline. Kids laugh too loud. Dogs bark. People fall in love in grocery stores. You'd hate it." Tsari gave a soft laugh. "Maybe I wouldn't." Their eyes met. For a moment, the jungle, the war, the danger, none of it mattered. Only the warmth of the fire, the stars above, and two hearts that had once been enemies now beginning to beat in rhythm. Far across the jumbo moon of Akretos 7, deep within a sleek black warship hidden in orbit, the car carrier leaders sat in silence. A large table glowed with battle reports, sensor scans, and failed mission logs. The mood in the room was tense. Anger filled the air like smoke. Commander Rether, a tall and fearsome Karkari warrior, slammed his fist on the table. The hologram flickered. "This is the third team we've lost to a single human," he shouted. "Not just any human," said strategist Vexel, tapping on the screen. "Captain Roan Maddox, Deathworld Special Forces. Trained for environments worse than this. He doesn't break." Rether growled. "He should have been dead days ago. The jungle should have eaten him alive. The Skarn should have torn him apart. But he didn't die," Vexel said coldly. "And now he's protecting the defector." They all turned toward a recording playing on the side wall. Grainy footage from one of the Skarn's final moments showed Maddox fighting with sharp, brutal skill. He moved fast. He used the jungle like a weapon. He wasn't just surviving, he was winning. A younger officer spoke up. "I don't understand. He's alone. No support. No backup. He's tired, wounded. Why does he keep going?" Vexel turned to him and replied, "That is the human problem." "What do you mean?" the officer asked. "Humans are unpredictable. They fight beyond reason. They laugh in pain. They bond with enemies. They don't follow the rules of war. Their strength comes not just from their weapons, but from their spirit." Another leader hissed, "They care too much." "Yes," Vexel said, "and that makes them dangerous." Rethar paced the room, tail twitching with frustration. "So what do we do?" "We adapt," Vexel replied. "We track him not as a soldier, but as a man. We use emotion against him. He's protecting the defector. That is his weakness now." They stared at the map. A red dot moved slowly through the jungle. Rether leaned in. "He's heading toward the ridge. That's close to our southern base." Vexel nodded. "Then we prepare a trap. Not with force, with fear." Outside the warship, hundreds of Skarn units were loaded onto transports. Drones buzzed into place. The jungle below was already dangerous, but now it would be even deadlier. Back in the cave, Maddox felt a chill crawl up his spine. Tissari looked at him. "What's wrong?" He stared into the jungle. "They're changing tactics," he said quietly. "They're not just hunting us. They're watching, learning." Tissari's expression darkened. "They'll come harder now." Maddox nodded. "Good. Let them." To the Karkari, the human mind was a puzzle they couldn't solve. And when fear didn't work, they were about to learn what human willpower truly looked like. The morning air was thick with mist as Captain Roan Maddox and Dr. Tissari Valen climbed the high ridge of Akretos 7. The sun tried to shine through the clouds, but the jungle stayed dim and quiet. Too quiet. Roan stopped at the top and scanned the trees below with sharp eyes. "Something's not right," he muttered. Tissari moved beside him, her breathing slow but uneasy. "I feel it too." They had been traveling for 3 days, fighting, hiding, surviving. They were near the rendezvous point now, just a few kilometers away. But the forest around them felt wrong. No birds, no bugs, no movement. Rome crouched and tapped a small device on his wrist. A signal scanner opened, blinking red. It started to beep, slowly at first, then faster. "Tracker signal," he said. "Close." Tissari stepped back, alarmed. "That can't be. I destroyed mine." Rome looked at her. "You sure?" "Yes," she said quickly, but then her eyes narrowed. "Unless." Her hand reached up to her neck, right below her skin near the spine. Her expression turned pale. "There was one inside me. A birth implant. Hidden. I didn't know." Ron's face didn't change, but his voice grew low. "That's how they've been following us." I didn't betray you, she said, her voice full of fear and shame. I swear I didn't know. Roan looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. I believe you. She stared at him, surprised. I've seen real betrayal, he said. This isn't it. Suddenly, a loud hum filled the air. Dropships. 3 of them. They burst through the clouds like metal shadows, headed straight for them. We need to move, Roan said, pulling her back into the trees. But it was too late. Car-carry drones poured out of the ships, flying fast, scanning and locking targets. A sharp voice rang through the speakers. Dr. Tesseri Valen, surrender. You have violated car-carry law. Your death will be swift. She looked up, breathing hard. They'll kill you too. Let them try, Roan said, loading his weapon. They ran through the trees, dodging laser fire and exploding roots. Roan fired back with quick, expert shots, knocking drones from the sky. Tesseri used her knowledge of car-carry tech to jam their signals, but the waves kept coming. They slid into a narrow cave entrance hidden under roots. Inside it was dark and damp, but it gave them a moment to breathe. Tesseri sat down, shaking. I ruined everything. They'll never stop now. Roan looked at her, then placed a hand on her shoulder. This wasn't your fault. They planned this from the start. You tried to do the right thing, and that still matters. She looked up at him, eyes shining. Why do you keep believing in me? Because, Roan said softly, the moment we stop believing in people, we become like them. Outside, the enemy closed in. But inside the cave, a bond grew stronger. Even surrounded, even betrayed by fate, hope still burned between 2 hearts who refused to give in.